Good afternoon. Today, it's the second day of very precious and prestigious international event, LivenArch. Actually, it's a quite important in my career as well. My very first international presentation was in another LivenArch. It was 2006 or something. And this morning, my mobile phone, or actually Google, reminded me that 6 years ago, I was presenting my PhD thesis in LivenArch. So after all these years, I'm the chair of a session, and I'm here with very young and researchful academicians and professionals. Thank you for being us. Okay, today we have four presentations, and Ezgi AKKURT and Tolga AKBULUT from Yıldız Technical University, Feyza MENDI and Nursena KOYUTURK from TOBB University of Economics and Technology, Ildem and Isıl RUHI SIPAHIOGLU from TOBB University of Economics and Technology, and Oncü OZALP from Middle East Technical University. With your permission, I would like to ask our presenters to publish, or our technical team to publish their video presentation at first. After having listened all the speech, we are going to have some time to discuss. So I wish a fruitful and let's say intellectually satisfying session. So floor is ours, videos and presenters. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I am Ezgi AKKURT. We prepared the presentation together with Professor Tolga AKBULUT. The title of my presentation is The Role of In-Between Space to Support Informal Learning Activities in Educational Buildings. I would like to thank all participants and organization committee. During this presentation, first of all, I will talk about aim and scope of study, and then the concept of informal learning, changing learning spaces and in-between space, and then learning space and methods used in in-between space researches. Other topic I will talk about. Finally, conclusion. When examining studies conduct on educational buildings in literature, it can be observed that there are comprehensive environment behavior studies regarding the physical environments of school. However, there is very little research available concerning the role and nature of in-between space. In this context, it is important to uncover the potential qualities of in-between space to support informal education as spaces that need to be studied and understood so that they can be designed to meet children's needs more effectively. It is thought that the study will contribute to studies focusing on investigating formal education spaces. The number of empirical studies focusing on whether the design features of informal learning spaces improve the informal learning process is very few. As an interdisciplinary research area, the design of learning spaces is located at the intersection of different disciplines such as pedagogy, architecture, politics, and management. In the historical process, technological, scientific, and social changes throughout history have led to the transformation of education system and educational buildings. This transformation has brought different perspectives to both the physical size and characteristics of educational buildings and the spatial opportunities offered. The concept of in-between space has been used various disciplines today, and it has been defined differently in the literature. I don't want to bore you by reading this. We wrote it in detail in full text. Deleuze, Zizek's statements are like this. As an example of designs aimed at creating in-between spaces, one can point to Aldovan H's playgrounds located within the city, which serve as examples of spaces generating in between space. Hertzberger's designs are also examples of in between space. In Hertzberger's designs, circulations order to a microcity and considers in between space as a significant part of the design. We can see their design in a table. For example, Hertzberger designed the gallery space in Amsterdam Montessori School to provide social interaction and designed each section for learning. In this figure, we see the forms of in-between space formation in Hertzberger design, like this. Hertzberger's concept of informal learning has encouraged the creation of multipurpose outdoor spaces in addition to interior design. Like the design above, there are schools in Turkey that are designed accordance with similar characteristic. Istanbul Seismic Risk Mitigation Project, educational buildings, including some public buildings, were reconstructed, and this project sets an example for the design of modern educational buildings. Circulations areas in educational buildings are conceived as spaces for transportation, as well as these areas that will increase social interaction among students and teachers. For example, Kaptanpaşa Primary School, Rıfat Ilgaz, Muallim Cevdet. When the existing research on in-between spaces in the literature are examined, behavioral mapping, walking tours, and interviews with focus groups come to the fore as methods. I will try to these methods briefly. When we look at the behavior mapping process schema, the steps are as follows. In Aminpor's study, the role of in-between space within outdoor school environments in children's expression of agency, the regions determined in the school selected for behavior mapping are indicated in the figure. When we look at the walking tour process schedule, the steps are as follows. When we look at the schedule of the focus group interview process, the steps are as follows. Evaluations based on existing studies on learning spaces and in-between spaces research. The analysis conduct using the methods mentioned above emphasize content analysis and graphical presentation. In school designed by Hertzberger, in focus is on how the spaces should be to support learning and teaching. In this context, the concept of in-between spaces has emerged, and this concept is considered as a threshold. Aminpor stated that there are accidental areas of experience in between spaces. Aktan stated that learning is not limited to walls, and that learning and social interaction can take place in between spaces. Within the scope of the paper, the existing literature on in-between space and informal learning spaces was reviewed, and the methods of the studies on in-between space were revealed. It is expected that the method suggestion put forward for the studies on in-between spaces within the scope of the paper will contribute to the future design. Finally, references. Thank you for your patience. Hello, everyone.
Thank you for your
Hello
presentation.
everyone, welcome.
Okay, so I'm not going to intervene, so we will, okay, I got it. We are going to see all the videos at once, so please go.
Okay, I'm going.
To our presentation. My name is Nursena KOYUTURK. My partner is Feyza MENDI. We are MA students at TOBB Economy and Technology University. Our topic is Post-Disaster Temporary Education Model Proposal, EduTube. First of all, I will talk about our research question. Disaster not only result in the loss of live in the area where they occur, but they also seriously affect the built environment where the survivors dwell, structural damage in the place where people spend most of their time, bring many problems in the short and long term. One of these problems is the damage to the educational facilities. In the aftermath of the disaster, school facilities are often damaged, destroyed, or used as emergency shelters, resulting in prolonged disruption of education and ultimately a decrease in the quality of education. Therefore, damage to educational facilities as a result of a disaster has a devastating impact on children and young. Why children? Since children's cognitive coping mechanisms are developing, they are affected by the traumas such as disaster more than adults. A correct and high quality education to be given in the space created in line with the needs for disaster survivor students can prevent the psychological, social, and economic problems experienced as a result of the earthquake before they start. Why education? Special requirements and criteria are of great importance in order to provide education in a certain quality. Since the need for education is not considered as a priority most of the time in disaster areas, it would not be wrong to say that the temporary structures where learning activities are carried out are not taken care of. In order to maintain education activities without being subjected to long-term interruptions, it is of critical importance to deliver temporary educational structures to the disaster area as fast as possible in order for people to return to their normal lives.
Now, I will be talking about the design proposals material selection. I will try to clarify how we choose the materials to be applied to the model. The material selection process for the design proposal involves careful considerations, so we aim to strike a balance between durability and cost effectiveness while ensuring that the chosen materials align with the overall vision and purpose of the model. So, in line with the sustainable design criteria, the structural material of the space was determined to be a cardboard tube system. Cardboard tubes are elements in the form of cylinders made of wood pulp. The lightweight, durable, economical, easily applicable, superior insulation and recyclable material properties of the building system are a serious alternative for the urgent and safe building need that arises after the earthquake. So cardboard tubes are also used as structural elements such as columns and beams. These tubes can be easily cut and assembled to create various shapes and sizes, making them highly versatile in construction. Besides the use of cardboard tubes as structural elements allows for quick and efficient assembly, reducing construction time and cost as well. So finally, I will present you our design idea for a temporary education building and explain the design process. In the design phase of sustainable temporary education structure after the disaster, it is important to select the construction systems that can be constructed in a short time, lightweight, easy to store and transport, easy to deassemble and reassemble, do not require expert labor, spatial reproducibility is possible, do not emit noise to the environment, low cost and durable construction. In this study, a design proposal for a temporary education structure that can be used after a disaster is presented in order to solve the defined problem by centering on the mentioned design criteria. The developed modular structure is designed in such a way that it can be used both after the disaster and evolve for different needs during the emergencies as well. The module design was guided by universal design principles. One of the crucial points during the design process was making the use of modules simple and intuitive. The color coding system was used in order to facilitate the installation, since the number of functions and the way in which they can come together will vary depending on the area and location where the temporary training education structures will be used actually. To clarify it, as you can see in the picture, the blue modules identify wet areas, and in the same way, red symbolizes the heating modules, yellow represents the electricity cables, and lastly, green represents the natural ventilation function. And also you can see that we have photovoltaic panels on top in order to obtain the energy that the modules need. So you can see the overall design in here. This is actually one of the options for alignment of the modules. There are several ways to put them together, and I will show you the different options as well. The modules are designed to be adaptable to changes in the number of users by extending and expanding through transverse and longitudinal articulation. This adaptability and flexibility ensure that the modules can easily accommodate an increasing or decreasing number of users without requiring significant modifications or replacements. As you can see here, in line with the needs of particular disaster location, modules can be aligned differently. So in this picture, you can also see the non-assembled cardboard tubes and how we can easily store them. As well as the overall design, we have carefully considered the interior layout to promote collaboration and adaptability. So what do I mean by that? The interior fittings to be used in this building, which is designed based on universal design principles, as I mentioned, have been developed within the scope of equitable use and flexibility in use. Thus, the proposed modules are intended to serve the different user profiles simultaneously. So you can see the interior perspective of the space and the furniture design in here. This is an interior perspective of a wet area module. We also considered the people with disabilities and their needs as well. So this is another perspective from the interior to show the different furniture alignments actually. Also in here, you can see the adaptable furniture design in a detailed way. According to user needs, the seating height or working surface height can be adjusted. So consequently, while EduTube creates a model for the continuation of the education process of children after the disaster without interruption, it is also able to meet the basic sheltering needs of not only the children, but also disaster victims of all age groups with its adaptable features. So EduTube model, which has been developed in order to overcome the process after the devastating earthquake disaster that our country, which is located in the earthquake zone, has recently faced, has been proposed in order to respond to the needs of both children, who are the future of the country, and all disaster victims. And I believe that's all we can say for now. Thank you all for listening us.
Hello everyone, I would like to begin by expressing my sincere appreciation to all those involved in organizing this Congress, as well as for providing me with the opportunity to present my ideas. This study, which we prepared with Assistant Professor Isıl RUHI SIPAHIOGLU, reports about the post-occupancy evaluation of an academic building as a result of learning through a live project. This presentation will evolve into 8 sections. POE helps assess how well a building meets the needs of its occupants and identifies opportunities to save resources and enhance indoor environmental quality. However, the existing architectural curricula often don't adequately address the evaluation of existing buildings and retrofitting practices, which are essential skills for architects in the face of the climate crisis. To address this gap, this presentation reports on a final project undertaken as part of an elective course entitled Sustainable Architecture. In this course, students in the 4th grade worked collaboratively to conduct an investigative POE of the foreign language departments. Their objective was to identify passive and active intervention to enhance energy efficiency, eliminate on-the-site fossil fuel, and improve indoor environmental quality. This study posits that student design and research studies like LIVE projects carry out for a building where they have experience also triggers students to be more motivated in the learning process and promote their competency. The research adopts a case study approach. In this context, students undertook a final project involving a POE of the foreign language department. The primary objective of this evaluation was to assess the building's performance and user satisfaction and pinpoint areas for the enhancement in terms of energy efficiency and IEQ. I will give some brief information about POE. POE involves evaluating a building or space after it has been occupied for some time. The aim of POE is to collect information about how effectively the area meets its intended purpose and user needs. By analyzing the data collected through the POE, areas of the space that can be improved or modified for better performance can be identified. Additionally, this data helps to comprehend how occupants' satisfaction in buildings is influenced by factors like thermal, acoustic, and visual conditions, air quality, as well as other aspects of the workspace and building, such as views, furniture arrangements, privacy, cleanliness, and control over the international environments. The evaluation studies primarily adhere to POE stages outlined by RIBA, with a primary focus on IEQ. Collecting client experience, building layout analysis, user feedback on IEQs, and gathering utility bills. The aim of these evaluation steps was to identify both passive and active intervention points that could enhance the building's energy efficiency, eliminate on-site fossil fuel usage, and improve IEQ for occupants. Using the POE results and feedback from occupants, each group performed a range of analyses. They utilized building information modeling platform and supplemented their analysis with Climate Studio, which is available as a plugin for Rhino. These analyses include assessment of solar radiation, daylight level glare, U values of building facades, illuminance, radiance, and daylight factor. Subsequently, each group divided intervention and conducted further analysis after implementing these interventions. The FLD building was constructed in 2028. It was built using a tunnel formwork system and has a total construction area of 9,000 square meters. The building comprises a basement, ground floor, and 4 stories. The office rating evaluation table is visualized based on the facade orientation and indicates that satisfaction and dissatisfaction rates vary more significantly between summer and winter times for the indoor air quality and thermal comfort categories, with the east facade performing better than the west facade. When examining the class evaluation data in terms of satisfaction averages, it is evident that the rate of the users dissatisfied with the indoor air quality of the classroom is higher than other categories. Concerning thermal comfort in the classroom, the data shows the rate of sometimes too hot and the rate of stiffness indoor air quality are high. The reading hall is situated at the southwestern corner of the building, featuring glass curtain walls on each facade. Regarding thermal comfort, occupants reported discomfort during the summer due to the excessive heat from the curtain walls. The foyer halls are situated on the southeastern facade on the building. When evaluating the foyer areas based on satisfaction areas, it appears they don't effectively prevent unwanted sounds. During summertime, the thermal comfort rate is low, prompting students to provide facade recommendation and suggestion for improving indoor comfort in this area. Students were organized into groups of 6, and each group was assigned a specific area of building, which included classroom, offices, foyer halls, and the reading hall. The proposed intervention for eastern facade aimed to maximize solar energy utilization through shading elements and double glazed window with low E-glass. Solar glare and daylight analysis were conducted to improve energy efficiency and user comfort. To address glare issue, louvered windows are suggested for north-facing classroom. For the southern facade, a naturally ventilated curtain wall system with shading elements is recommended. Intervention include a fabric mesh facade for thermal comfort, modern and sustainable furniture and equipment, various interior finishes for improved comfort and acoustic and additional lighting options. The student group's redesign focuses on the both aesthetic and practicality. They consider life cycle assessment for materials, emphasizing environmental sustainability. The inclusion of the POE in architectural education is of great significance. This underscores the imperative for sustainable approach to reducing energy consumption and carbon emissions. POE provides students with an opportunity to comprehend real-world building performance, identify areas for improvements, and gain insights into sustainable retrofitting strategies. This study employed POE to examine user experience and the performance of a university building. Student group proposed recommendation to enhance the functionality, comfort, energy efficiency, and user experience within the building. However, the feasibility of this proposal must be rigorously assessed, taking into account cost effectiveness analysis and user feedback. This study serves as an illustrative example of how architectural education can adapt to the evolving demands of sustainable design, preparing future architects to address the pressing environmental challenges of the old time. Thank you all for your attendance.
Hello everyone, my paper is titled as Reframings in Long Exposure, Capturing the Generative Forces of the Middle East Technical University Campus Competition. This study is further developed from my continuing PhD dissertation at the Middle East Technical University, Department of Architecture. It is being supervised by Professor Dr. LivenArch VIII, and I want to express my gratefulness to Professor Sargın for his contributions and guidance on my PhD research. Realization and design development stages of Altı Çinici and Behruz Çinici's first winning prize for the Middle East Technical University competition integrate one of the most comprehensive, challenging, and complex post-war competition histories in Turkey. Analyzing the vast and very influential open archive of Çinici's in Salt Archive provides invaluable insight into the design process of the competition and also into its further articulations during the development phases. Architects' great enthusiasm for the project reveals itself in multiple stages of drawings, including design revisions, alterations, and sometimes complete startovers in certain circumstances. This presentation engaged with the meta competition as an inherent generative and regenerative force, which greatly shaped the forthcoming articulation stages of the selected architectural works, including the cafeteria, the Department of Physics, and the main library. Altı and Behruz Çinici won the first degree for the Meta Campus competition in 1961. In the original competition drawings of Çinici's, the definition of the central architectural entity for the pedestrian use appears as the alley. The competition board suggests strong connections between the buildings and the alley at the early stages. Similar to that, in the realization process of the campus, the presence of the alley appears in the very early stages. The elongated and diagonal traces on the left are the very first and accurate imprints of the alley on the campus land. The same line is also visible on the right, which can be traced just in front of the Faculty of Architecture. In this sense, as an architectural element, it is as central as the Faculty of Architecture in the formation of the campus. Also, the imprints of the alley, like a time frame witnessing the realization stages of the campus, appears just in front of the physics department and nearby to the construction of the library unit. It continues as a thin single strain just next to the amphis and follows the chemistry department. As the images demonstrate, the alley and its traces create a strong visibility during the formation of the campus units. Also, the realization stages and the temporality of the campus must be very important for the architects. Like artists who include specific details about the dates on various personal artworks, the architects noted the date, month, and year of the construction dates on the architectural elements. The library, the Faculty of Architecture, and the stages of the physics department integrate the construction dates as signatures and traces of the architects. In this section, I will briefly discuss the compositions of the cafeteria, the Department of Physics, and the main library buildings, which were specifically designed to be completed in stages. And all those artworks perfectly become one with the further articulations by achieving an impressive unity after their second stages were completed. It should be emphasized that the first stages of those units were completely in use by the university population during the first stage, and the building responded to the needs of their users till their planned growth had started. Following the modifications between the photographs reveals one common feature, which is that architects designed the specific places of expansion areas with a minimum destruction of the pre-existing unit, primarily via revising circulation zones. The growth of Metu Cafeteria in the Çinici archive was dated as December 1968, and the modification of this unit seems to be the most challenging one among those three examples. Shown in the crimson red, the second growth included the dining hall for the guests on the ground floor plan. The traces of the yellow dotted lines intersect where the expansion happened on the ground floor plans for all examples. While the pre-existing wet spaces partly remain, a new core was built and redefined the servant spaces, including the installation shaft in the second stage. One of the most impressive design decisions in the first stage follows the inclusion of an alternate spare room at the core of the future expansion area. It clearly indicates the first stage of the plan masterfully designed for change during the future transformation stage. The growth of the Metu library was noted as January 1972 in Çinici drawings. The building is elongated on a continuous axis and aligns with the alley in the north-south direction. As followed from the images, the very first stage integrated the construction of the core, which was indicated as blue in the left section of the figure. The core included the circulation of the wet spaces, which were also used for the same functional purposes after the expansion stage. Demonstrated with the crimson red, the second stage articulation completely enclosed the core. The architects achieved unity by integrating the core into the new composition and designed a new sculptural circulation core for the stairs, which has the same form with the one on the first stage. After the second stage, the ventilation openings of the wet spaces in this core directly overlooked the blind walls of the B and C units and well articulated the wet space ventilation without any obstacles. The expansion of the metaphysics department also partially aligns with the special logic behind the library. By designing a unit corresponding to the main prismatic mass with the same dimensions and incorporating two circulation cores, the physics department very much depends on reflecting its first stage. Very impressively, all of those buildings, which the author considers as artworks, the aesthetics of the architectural compositions intensified with further articulations. However, in their first stage, the buildings also seemed, quote, complete, unquote, as special without any need of development. Among these extensive number of post-war competitions in Turkey, revisiting Çinici's Middle East Technical University Campus Competition proposal, its alterations, and the stages of its realizations generate behind the scenes of the campus design. Similar to the traces of the continuous design alterations in the campus proposal, further development of these three units in this presentation provide particular design narrative. Exploring the second stage extension of those three campus buildings suggests that in order to reach an organic yet strictly planned spatial development for the unity of architectural compositions and to take a critical position against standardization, architects explored a unique design vocabulary at the very beginning of the architectural design stages and explored the idea of a planned growth in the compositional and aesthetic features of the campus. References. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for your presentations and very precisely prepared videos. So the floor is for the floor is yours, our dear guests and listeners. If any contribution, remark, please provide. They're all most welcome. Maybe it could be a better start to summarize briefly all the presentations. Actually, we have 4 presentations. They are all not all about, but they reframe different issues, aspects, potentials of educational spaces in different contexts for different ages. And this context covers also the time context as well. So first we have seen in-between spaces as a potential for informal learning. And then we heard about post-disaster temporary education buildings, which is quite important, especially for Turkey, after having experienced those terrible earthquakes. And then post-occupancy of buildings, especially about energy efficiency and their future possibilities through a case from TOBB University of Economics and Technology. And finally, the Middle East Technical University campus competition and examination of certain buildings through the archive of CINAR archive, which is placed and now hosted by SALT Institute. So is there any comment or question or remark from our guests or from our presenters to each other?
Aktan hocam, may I have a word to Oncü OZALP?
Please.
I mean, this will not be a question, rather it's kind of asking if it's possible to make any contribution to the archive, because I held a wealth of photos from physics buildings dating back to 64, 69, when Kemal Kurdaş was the president of the university. And if your thesis is open, I'm very much looking forward to send you those photos from inside the building.
That will be great, because from the 1960s, it's in the archive. We don't have the photographs, especially from the physics department interview.
Yeah.
So that will be great. Thank you.
Okay, I'll get your email and then I will send you, because I have the digital scan versions especially from the S building, if it's included in your thesis work.
Yes, that will be great. Thank you.
Okay, inside
Thank
the
you so
laboratories. Okay, I mean, this was not a comment, but I was really happy to hear someone is working, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's the idea of having these kind of events. You know, if we had the chance to meet at beautiful campus, we will be talking and, you know, discussing all these things during the coffee breaks. So anyway, we had that chance even in online. Thank you. So no questions. By the way, I see Asu Hocam, İlkay Hocam, and Nilgün Hocam as the guests of our session. That's great to see them here. Actually, they are very important figures in my academic life, as I said before. My first international project role was in a CATU project. It was 2006, and İlkay Hocam was the jury member of my doçentlik process. So that's a great opportunity to say hello. Okay, I think İlkay Hocam.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you, Aktan? I'm glad you for these organizations. Very, very thank you. Bye.
It's my pleasure, Hocam. It's my pleasure to be invited as a chair.
Dear Aktan, can you see Q&A part?
Yes, now I see. Okay. It's one question for Oncü OZALP. How do you see the future of METI campus against the economic and political forces?
Thank you for the question. I'm looking for a question to see. Yes. Yeah, actually, I maybe because I'm yes, worked for a very long time. I have been photographing the campus. Maybe I can reference one of my professors, Ayşen Savaş. Her works includes the Getty Foundation Award for the Faculty of Architecture, and for the last years, her studies has been for the further preservation of the Faculty of Architecture and the campus. So I think these studies, which includes METI components of the campus, like Getty Foundation grant by Ayşen, led by Professor Ayşen Savaş, I think these kind of studies are extremely important for the further preservation of the campus. So there has been, in terms of conservation, in terms of documentation, in terms of structural and from all components, it has been studied, and I think these kind of studies make it more enduring. And by diving into the archives, I think the concept of the campus as a together can be more intensified when these studies multiply, and when the campus is, I think, in reference to the architects and their archive, and when these discussions proliferate, let's say, I think the future of it will be more consolidated, let's say.
Actually, by the way, Aslı Hocam çok teşekkür ederim. Aslı Hocam, I don't know if you see the messages or not. Hocam, it's my pleasure and it's an honor to be here. Thank you. The METI campus actually is full of conflicts and contradictions from the very beginning, from the competition process to the contemporary or current situations. Nowadays, it's all mostly the intercity connections and roads and transportation issues. But in the past, there were also some issues about iskan ruhsatı, and unfortunately, there were some issues raised by the former mayor about the buildings. And I think there are a lot of lessons we are going to learn from the campus and the buildings and the construction processes. So that's really good to hear that our researchers, young academicians, are writing not the major history, but different histories and different points from different through different, let's say, sources. So I think we're done, and thank you for your valuable contributions. And we are sure that your research will bring very useful and fruitful results. Good luck with your future academic and professional works. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Hocam.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aktan Hocam.